Good morning, welcome back. Great. So today we're going to take our conversions another step. Yesterday we learned about unit conversions. Everything that we did yesterday was a single step conversion. So we went from one unit to another unit by way of a single step. You can make some informed and you can make some predictions about what is coming next. So we're calling it multi-step conversions. These will be more than one step. Some will be 2 steps, some will be 3 steps, some will be 4 steps. We can go nuts and get you taking all sorts of steps. We can also Okay, so since yesterday was all single steps, you were getting your conversion factors from either the page on the PDF page on your computer or your note page of metric conversions. But guess what? We can merge those so that you have to get some of your conversions from your page on the computer and some of your other conversions from your note page. Oh boy. Okay, so things like, even though that possibly sounds really intimidating, there are things to keep in mind that are helpful, which is that everything you learned yesterday with the style, so yesterday's, let's start writing some of this down because I'm going to show you the next thing. So multi-step conversions. And just to take us back to yesterday, the single step template looked somewhat like this. We had our start spot over here, which was the number and the start unit. This is going to get sloppy already. Okay. And I was putting all your start stuff in boxes, at least through the answer key video. And I was putting all your end stuff, so when the question says how much or how many, that's your end unit. I was circling that all day yesterday. In your single step template, we did a whole bunch of, put your end unit on top of that conversion factor and your start unit on the bottom. And then when you go to find your conversion factor, you want an equality. So we're just converting units. We want some amount of your start to equal some amount of your end units. Okay, this is kind of review. And then whatever number goes with the start unit goes with the start unit up there, and whatever number goes with the end unit goes with the end unit there. Okay, so that was kind of yesterday's stuff. I think I did X and Y yesterday. X and Y are great. This kind of stuff is great as long as you know that your numbers are just following your units, and your units are the driving factor. Okay, I'm going to stop saying this over and over. If you want to hear it a billion times, feel free to. I was going to say watch that other one on a loop repeat, but really you just have to watch it from the beginning to end. I say this a lot. Cool. Good. But since we're not just going to rehash yesterday a second day in a row, we're going to move on to something new. Here we go. This pattern is going to stick with us. We did a whole day building this engine. I sometimes call it an engine, because we're going to take it into all of the new stuff also. So let's say you have a 3-step conversion. You're gonna recognize right off the bat that wow, this looks familiar. We're doing a second day on something this familiar already. And that's part of what I'm going for here. is that you actually know some of this already. You know that the end unit that you want is on the top of the last conversion factor, the last fraction. You know your start unit is going to go from top to the bottom. And you're going to cancel it out because it's on the top and bottom. So what happens in 3 steps that did not happen in 2? Now you've got some other thing to deal with, some other unit. We could call this the middle unit. Let's call it the middle unit. Middle. Kind of like the middle sibling. Middle unit. The one that's just invisible at the beginning and the end. Nobody mentions the middle. Poor middle. Okay. Now, take a wild guess. Let's say you've got a 4-step conversion. You're like, yep, I know the beginning. I know the beginning of the story. I know the end of the story. These are the ones that people talk about. They're in the question. They're like right there at the start. It's all this middle stuff. That got really sideways. I don't have lined paper. You might have lined paper. I probably should have. Okay, whatever. All sideways. But, and this is so, it's possible that even today this looks kind of intimidating because you're like, how on earth am I supposed to do that many conversions? Well, some of this pattern is right here for you still from yesterday. Start with your starting unit. That's the one that has the number. Cancel it out by kicking it to the bottom of this giant long fraction thing. You know your end unit is the one that you want left on top of that last fraction. We just got you a middle unit. We're like, this video is going much faster than usual. We're 7 minutes in and you're already comfortable. Well, yeah, right. I'll show you how to find the middle unit. I think some of the struggle with all of this is like knowing what that like invisible middle thing is. And then another thing that can just be massively confusing all over the place is what I'm looking for color that doesn't look like the other colors. There, this is a great color. Okay, I've done circles, squares, triangles. Let's choose, not triangles, stars. Okay, sometimes you have 2 middle units. Second middle unit that are not written at all, and you have to come up with what that is. That looks like blue, it doesn't look purple. Does green look different than purple? I have to find another color that looks different. Okay, for the second middle unit, that's why the shapes are helpful. I've had kids, one thing that somebody said one year that lots of people have found helpful, she calls these the disco, that disco thing that the units do, because it's this weird, she was a visual arts major and she drew up on the board like people doing the disco, and it was very cute. So you're just, you and like your other stick friends are, and if you really, really want to, you can like picture the strobe light in your bedroom and like do a disco. Yeah, do a disco. Okay. Making all sorts of wonderful quotable things for you guys. Okay. Let's pretend that didn't happen. But this zigzaggy pattern, oh, I can do it with my mouth. No, not that way. Okay. Yeah, this like zigzaggy thing. Yeah, okay. So, and what's going on mathematically with the disco is the thing you're starting with, you're going to cancel out on the bottom of the next fraction, convert it to something else, cancel that unit out on the bottom of the next fraction, convert it to something else, cancel that out, and eventually convert it to what you want. The unit that you actually want is the last thing left on top. Sometimes you have to go through some steps in between to get to where you're going, but if you follow this nice zigzaggy pattern the whole time, this could be a lightning bolt pattern, or like anything that if you were in my freshman year class, some of y'all, one of you, I forget who drew it on the board, but somebody drew a great picture with like broccoli and trees and random shapes, and it got you seeing this like zigzaggy pattern. The zigzaggy pattern is the key to basically everything, because with the zigzaggy pattern you can take yourself from anywhere that you are starting to anywhere that you are going, as long as you know, like, you can't convert like time to, I was going to say money, but actually one of the few ways in which this is a real life application is you can convert time to money depending on all sorts of stuff. This, once you're budgeting yourself, this becomes very handy. Anyways, let's do distance to, I don't know, amount of light output. Well, even that, anyways, what I'm trying to say is you can't like turn things into units that don't apply, but like if you're taking a length, you can convert it to another length. I'm not gonna go too deep on that. Okay. Questions I predict you might have at this point are, how do I figure out the middle unit? Because aside from that, everything else is identical to yesterday. Or the other question that you might have a lot of questions I'm not thinking of, but how do I figure out the middle unit? How do I figure out how many steps I need? You know, like when I give you a question, is this a 1-step question? Is this a 2-step question? Is this a 3-step question? Is this a 18-step question? How do I know how many steps I have to take? Okay, let's go on to our next page. And that should not be there. On our next page, we are going to start addressing some of those questions. And the question you're going to ask yourself, like, how do I know how many steps to take? And, oh, that's really blurry. How do I know how many steps to take or to do or to write or whatever? This is going to have a terrible answer. Ready? As many as you need. Great. That was not what you were looking for. Okay. And to flesh out as many as you need is like, given what you're starting with and what you're ending with, do your units in between. And you're like, yeah, I know, that's a circular answer. I'm asking, how do I know what to do in between? As many as you need to get from where you're starting to where you're going to. Again, super not helpful answer. I'm thinking maybe do some examples to kind of, to flesh out both this idea and that, like, it's possible to do the same question different ways. So how do I know how many steps to do, and how do I know what my middle units are, my invisible middle units? What middle units to use? And this could be 1 unit or lots of units. Well, I'm gonna do an example and I'm gonna show 2 different ways to get there, and it's possible you would figure out a different way. Anything that you do that takes you from your start to your end by way of like legit conversions in between is fine. So if you're thinking of a multi-step way, any of these ways, you're fine. Okay, let's get this a little bit more concrete. Oh, let's take that pencil from yesterday. So you've got a pencil example. My pencil is, what did we say? 6.5, I forget. 5 inches. How many? Oh, let's do it. Oh, I said yesterday we were gonna do it. How many miles is that? Okay, well, and I just said that I hadn't even thought of the question yet when I said it, but I said I was going to give you a question, and we're going to solve it at least 2 ways, and that you could figure out additional ways to solve it that would also be correct. This is why multi-step is more complicated than single step. Even when we get to this more complicated territory, some things will stay the same. This kind of stuff, I'm switching pages again. This kind of stuff from yesterday, that template will stay the same. Sorry that I just put that back on. But here's something that'll always stay the same. There's our number, that's our start spot. We know where we're going to start. We're going to start over here with the number, inches. And we know where we're going to end. We've got how many or how much miles. Okay. That's our end. Well, let's see here. There's so many ways to do this. But even... Wait, I gotta check something that is unrelated.